Thank you. My name is Rachel Carlisle. I'm the Enrollment Manager, College Credit Plus Coordinator for the Darke County campus of Addison State. So if you're familiar with Addison State, we do have two campuses, one in Piqua and one in Darke County. The Greenville City Schools and a lot of the school districts in this area partner with the Darke County campus to really refine these CCP processes and try to get the information out about this program. So there's a lot up front that's going to be really overwhelming as far as things that need to be done, things to consider, options for your student. So if you have questions along the way, you can either take a note and ask us afterwards, or if it's something that you feel should really be addressed in the moment at the presentation, feel free to stop me and I'll address it. In your packets that you're handed, you've been given a couple different items. And when I go through the presentation, I'll refer to a lot of these items as it becomes relevant, because there is a lot of information up front. There is a specific sheet of information that's relevant to Greenville High School students. With the CCP program, we do a lot of offerings on site here at the high school. So if you know people who participate in CCP through other districts, this is information that's unique to this population here at Greenville High School. We offer some services here on site in the building to try to make this process a little bit easier for the large volume of students that we have participating from Greenville. So this is going to be information specific to you guys. And then the other items I'll just refer to as we go along in the presentation. But you want to keep those handy. If you have a pen, you can take notes on those in case if any questions arise. Okay, well, we'll do this the other way. All right, so College Credit Plus, if you have older students or people that you know, dual enrollment has been around in the state of Ohio for a while. It used to be called the PSOP program, but about 3 years ago, the state of Ohio went through some changes and created what is now known as the College Credit Plus program. So this is the program that offers students grades 7 through 12 the opportunity to gain high school and college credit concurrently. Okay, so the courses that you're taking through CCP are going to be represented on both your high school transcript and your college transcript. So you're essentially enrolled in both at the same time. And the credits do count for both, so they do count for high school graduation, and then you could potentially use those down the road to meet college degree requirements. All right. The goal for College Credit Plus is to save students money. Okay, but in order to save money, we do have to kind of consider what each student's individual pathway is as far as their educational goals. Some students will take classes in order to meet their high school graduation requirements, and some general education classes that they know are going to be needed if they plan on going on to post-secondary education. Okay. Addison State Community College, we are a public accredited institution, so we have a very high transfer rate. You can see on one of the inserts a list of transferable courses. We do follow the Ohio transfer module and also have a wide range of tag courses, which are just a transfer guarantee. So we do have a very high transfer rate for students, but when you're thinking about transferring courses, everyone's educational path is different. So with high school graduation, accumulate an enormous amount of credits that aren't necessarily going to do anything for them in the long run. Okay, and that's part of the reason why I'm here on site at Greenville High School, is to meet with students and really kind of discuss what those options are for them and create a pathway that's going to work for them, so these credits are going to be valuable to them in the future. Through the CCP program, it is really nice because students have an option to participate in courses in a variety of different settings. Greenville High School is very fortunate to have multiple classes located here in the high school, taught by certified instructors. They follow the Edison State curriculum, and our committees, look over the credentials of these instructors to make sure that they're certified to teach our academic courses. We also have online courses that students can participate in, and if their schedule allows, students can take classes on campus. You guys are very close to the Darke County campus, so we do have students that pop over to campus if their time allows. Alright, so the greatest benefit of the College Credit Plus program is that it's free for students to participate in. So there's no cost for books, tuition, fees. All of the costs are essentially covered by the public school district. Okay, so if you're a homeschool student, or if you know homeschool students or private school students, their scenario is a little bit different for funding, but because you're a public school student, the participation in this program is entirely free. And so, you can accumulate college credits at essentially no cost, which if you are planning to go on for higher education, could be a real savings in the long run for your student. Okay. If you are enrolled in any classes, the consumable products, notebooks, pens, calculators, things like that, driving to campus, additional costs like that, you may incur some extra costs, but for the majority, most of the program is free for students. If a student would happen to fail a course or withdraw after our no-fault drop deadline, the student is then also responsible to pay back the tuition to the high school. Okay, so the program's free college credit, everyone gets really excited, but the school district is paying for them. So there is a price tag involved with it. So if a student would get to a point where they're failing a course or withdrawing, that can have some serious financial impact to families. If you're taking a class on our campus, you're looking at about $150, $160 per credit hour for a 3 credit hour class, plus books. That can add up really quickly for students. So it is something that you want to take seriously and make sure that you're academically prepared for this. All right, so the most overwhelming part is how to get all this started. So Greenville High School, there's multiple classes here, for students to kind of test the water with. We are very close to the Darke County campus. If you do decide that you're interested in taking some classes on campus, it's pretty easy for Greenville students to do so, but you need to know how to get into the system and then how to navigate that. So the number one thing that you have to do to get started is you have to turn in a letter of intent to the high school. And your guidance counselors will have that letter tonight if you are interested in picking that up. Will you be accepting those yet tonight too? Okay, so if you are interested, even just interested, you can turn in that letter of intent. There's no obligation to participate. It just notifies the school that you're considering participating in CCP for next year. Right? There is an April 1st deadline for students to turn in that form. They will not be accepted late. So if you do not turn in that form, you're not going to participate next year. All right? So that's your number one thing. Doesn't lock you into taking classes, really doesn't do anything other than notifies the school that you're potentially thinking about joining CCP next year. Okay. After that, you have to follow the admission policies of the school. So if you're thinking about joining through Edison State, which most of the classes here are offered through, and that partnership that's been developed, you have to follow the admission procedures for the college. Okay. So we have an online application. We also require assessment scores to determine qualification. And then we have a mandatory new student orientation. All right, so this brochure that you have, if you look on the inside cover, that's going to outline all that steps to participate. All right, that's just getting you in the door as far as getting started. All right, it lets the high school know that you're planning on taking classes. and then you can start the admission process with Edison State to become a student with us. All right. So even if you think you're going to take geology at the high school, if we don't have an application and these processes done on our side, Edison State doesn't know you exist as a student sitting in geology. All right. So potentially you could be taking a class that could be earning you college credit, and you may not receive that college credit. So it is important that even for the classes here on site, that this process is completed. All right. So Edison State's application is entirely online. If you go to edisonohio.edu and click on any of the yellow Apply Now buttons, it will direct you to prompts that are going to guide you through the CCP application. All right, so that's going to be your first step as far as the admission portion on the Edison State side. If you want a little bit of a shortcut to get to the College Credit Plus information, you can go to edisonohio.edu/college-credit-plus. That website's going to be listed all over that brochure. All right, that's going to take you to the CCP specific page of the college's website. That website, if you go under prospective or new students, is going to outline the entire admission process for you. It's also going to give you some tidbits about qualifying information and orientation. So it's really valuable for you to check out if you're looking for a little bit more information. Once that application is on file with us, still you are not obligated to participate. All right? So it only lets us know that you're considering the process, and then you can proceed to the eligibility criteria. So new this year, the state has determined that it's going to implement some changes into the College Credit Plus program. Students now have to meet benchmark college ready scores in at least one area to participate in the College Credit Plus program. So this is a change from prior years. In the past, as long as students completed the admission and eligibility portion, they were admitted into the program. There was a limited selection of classes that students could participate without having those benchmark scores. This year, and it's hard to see on the screen, I apologize, but this year you have to meet scores in at least one area, all right? And you can do the qualification process in a number of ways. If you're a junior or senior or sometimes sophomores and have ACT scores, you can send Edison State a copy of your transcript, your high school transcript with those scores, and we can determine your eligibility using that transcript. If you don't have all of the benchmark scores, maybe you're trying to boost your course eligibility status, or you just need to take additional assessment process to determine your eligibility, Edison State offers what's called the AccuPlacer assessment. It's a reading, writing, and math test that just gauges a student's skills in those areas. So it's an assessment. We want to see where that student is falling academically so we can make the determination of if they are falling in a range that's determined college ready. Okay? There are study tests for that. There's links to that on our website. However, we do want to get an honest evaluation of where students fall. So it's not something that we necessarily encourage a lot of studying for the first time, because we want to see where your true academic ability lies. So that way we know where you're going to fall with those courses and your ability. We are actually going to be offering an AccuPlacer test here at Greenville High School after school on March 14th. So that's a Wednesday. We'll be offering that in the computer labs here at the high school. If you are interested in taking the AccuPlacer test here at the high school, you need to sign up. We do have the sign-up sheet here, so you can sign up on your way out, or you can sign up in the high school guidance office if you can't sign up tonight. Okay, that sign-up sheet will be here on site. That's the only way to sign up for the event here. All right. If you can't make it to the event here, we have plenty of testing dates on campus. We test both at the Piqua and Darke County campus. The insert that you have that goes over AccuPlacer assessment information gives a list of testing options that we save specifically for our CCP population. Typically, the testing events at the Darke County campus are going to be on Wednesday evenings. I believe there's a Saturday event too. There's a couple Saturdays in Piqua. You can register for these events online. You just click on the date that you're interested in, enter in your name and some information, and you're good to go. If none of these work for you, we are very flexible with our testing dates. just call the Darke County campus. Typically, we're testing Monday through Thursday at 3:30 and 6 o'clock, but we do like to see the majority of students fall within one of the first two testing options. Okay, so the testing will be used, number one, to determine program eligibility. The second thing that we use the assessment scores for is to determine course eligibility. So at Edison State, we do have prerequisites for a lot of our courses. A prerequisite is just a requirement set on a course that you have to meet before you can enter into that course. So some of our courses have test score prerequisites, which are based on these assessments. A really popular course is English 121. That's a class that's offered here at the high school and on our campus. You have to have college-ready benchmark scores in both reading and writing to be eligible to take that class, okay? If you have one and not the other, you're not eligible. You have to have the two of them, okay? Another example of a prerequisite is you have to have that English 121 course to be able to move into English 122, okay? So there are a couple things to think about when it comes to courses and the assessment process. A quick note that I don't think is listed in the brochure is students who repeat tests. Sometimes students will test the first time. Maybe they don't hit all the scores that they want. They want to try again to boost their scores after they've been exposed to the assessment, feel a little bit more comfortable. Students can retest. It's Edison State's policy that a student waits 21 days, and that's an attempt to remediate and kind of boost up their abilities. After the 21-day wait period, they are able to retest. It's a $10 fee for retesting. The first attempt is covered for free through the CCP program. Any subsequent attempts are that $10 fee. Okay. All right, the final step in the admission process is to register for mandatory orientation. If you go to the CCP website, there's a button that says number 3. It's going to be new student orientation. There's going to be an orientation here at the high school or multiple orientations offered on campus. So we talk a lot tonight about what it takes to get started. When we do orientation, we talk a lot about what it means to be a college student and what it means to be an Edison State student. Okay, so it's overwhelming tonight. There's a little bit more coming down the road. All right, but the main things that are covered at orientation are the registration process. They get their student ID, their library barcode, things like that that are going to assist them as an Edison State student. All right, so the orientation here is going to be Wednesday, May 16th. Once again, the sign-up sheet in the back, you do have the option to select both the orientation and the assessment date here at the high school, one or the other, whatever works for you. Or if you can't make it to those, you can go to our website and select one of the orientation dates on campus. It is mandatory that new students participate in orientation. If you have a returning student that took classes last year, they do not have to repeat the orientation process. That is a one-time deal for new students. All right, so that's just getting you in the door. So all of that, which is really overwhelming, the next thing we have to do is actually get the students into their classes. At the high school, with me being on site, and we do bring some other Edison State staff members over to assist, we actually aid in the registration process here at the high school. So students do have to complete a registration form for courses, both for the classes here at the high school, or if they decide to take classes on site on our campus or online. The registration process is typically completed in a 2-day cycle here at the high school. Those dates will be announced to students. It is the student's responsibility to come down and see the guidance counselors and the Edison State staff member to complete that registration process. Do we know it's going to be like the end of May? So at the end of May, there'll be a one call and some other notification out to the students to let them know when those registration dates are going to be. Typically, the students do meet with their guidance counselor in the meantime too to discuss what their intentions are with courses for next year. So they may have a good idea that they're planning to take CCP courses, and then so we kind of have some students on the radar at that time too. You do want to try to have the assessment and orientation process done prior to course registration. If you don't meet the assessment score requirements, we can't sign you up for the classes. The orientation part we can complete after you register for classes, but it does have to be complete by the end of summer, okay, so before those classes start. The students are, this year, there are going to be some restrictions for new students. In House Bill 49, they passed some updates where new students are going to be required to stay within a category of transferable courses. This is just a safeguard for you as a student. Most of the classes here at Edison State do fall within that first tier that's eligible for that first 15 ruling. But there will be a list updated on our website in the near future with a list of that. For the meantime, the list of transferable courses that you have in your packet, those are all going to fall within the first tier. Okay, so we, as a public institution that's accredited, is very high, so you can feel safe about that. Online, at the high school, on campus. If you are interested in taking online classes, though, there is some extra steps for that. Alright, so the course registration, like I mentioned, it does occur here at the high school. We do that twice a year, so we register before summer break for classes occurring in the fall. If you're interested in taking summer classes, that would be an arrangement that you would need to make with the high school guidance counselor sometime in the spring. Then come October, November time frame, we have registration dates again to sign up for spring classes. So the cycle, once you get into it, does kind of repeat itself. So once you get the admission process done, then you're just going through the course registration process. The registration form that we have at Edison State is you are required to have any changes signed by your guidance counselor. We feel that it's very important for the guidance counselor to be aware of the changes that students are making, so we require that on those forms. However, it is the student's responsibility to seek out those signatures and kind of go through that process. We don't track students down to register for classes. As a college student, we expect that to kind of be on the initiative of the student. Let me see here. Any change that's made to a schedule, so whether they're adding a course, dropping a course, withdrawing, all of those have to be documented through a registration form. So if you get into a class and you decide that it's no longer your thing, you change your mind and you want to drop the class, both the high school guidance counselor and your Edison State representative will have to have a copy of that form with the approval of that change. Okay, so don't ever just stop coming to a class. That's not the route you want to take. The credit hour eligibility for students, there is a boundary that students have to stay within through the academic year. For the CCP population, the academic year starts in the summer and it ends in the spring. So essentially when you get to be your senior year, the summer is going to start that, and when you graduate, CCP's over. Okay, so it is a little bit backwards from what we typically do in higher education, that the summer is at the front end of things, but students do get 30 credit hours per academic year. Now 30 credit hours is a lot of college credit. We do take into account, there's a formula that we use, that every high school class a student is registered for that is not a CCP class, 3 credit hours is deducted from that formula. And this is also the student stays within their state share of instruction, because the school district is paying for these credit hours. We have to make sure that they're not overreaching their boundaries on that. All right. So just a very quick math lesson. If you're taking 5 classes here at the high school that are not CCP, you're going to deduct 15 credit hours off your 30 credit hours. You'll still have 15 available for college credit classes. All right, college credit plus classes at Edison State are typically going to be 3 to 5 credit hours. The majority of our classes are 3 credit hours. However, we do get into some science classes that might be 4 or 5 credit hours. Okay. Online courses are offered by Edison State as well as many other colleges. We do like to throw in a little tidbit about online classes because a lot of students think online classes are going to be the greatest thing they've ever experienced in their whole life. They can stay in their pajamas all day and sleep in, and it's going to be wonderful. However, online classes are not for everyone. And we spend a lot of time talking about this because we don't want anyone to be blindsided by the fact that when you're in an online class, you have to be responsible for a large amount of coursework that you would normally be completing either in a lecture or in group discussions. When you're in an online class, a lot of that responsibility falls on you as a student. All right. So for some students, online classes might be their only option for participation. However, it is something you want to consider the responsibility level of the student, how self-driven they are, how self-motivated they are, and if they can navigate processes without direction, without assistance, because although there is an instructor for the course, you may not be able to reach them at the time that you're having a concern. Okay, you're going to have to email them, you're going to have to wait for a response. So it is important just to keep that in mind. We have some students that do great at online classes, we have others that really struggle with them. All right. At Edison State, we use a system called the Blackboard Classroom. It's just our virtual classroom system. That's where all of our online classes are housed. We do require each student that's interested in taking online classes to complete a 1-week online workshop. The workshop is free for its first attempt, just like the assessment. However, students do have to pay for any subsequent attempts. And this is going to happen when you sign up for an online workshop and you forget about it and you don't complete it, or if you fail that first attempt. And every year we have students that fail the online workshop. Okay, so number one, if you fail the online workshop, think about that a little bit before you jump back into another one, because obviously there's a reason you failed the first one. Second thing is, if you do need to repeat it, you're going to have to go to campus and pay the $30 fee for that. But the online workshop and online courses, like I said, they can be a great thing. They increase accessibility to students. You do have to pass that online workshop with a 70% or higher to be eligible for online courses. You also have to be reading and writing assessment score past those college-ready benchmarks. Okay, so for the AccuPlacer, that's going to be a 5 and an 80. For the ACT, that's going to be an 18 and a 22. All right, but you do have to be eligible in both to take online courses. We do cover a lot about the financial responsibility or potential financial responsibility. If you fail or withdraw a course, you are responsible for those charges. They can add up pretty quickly. New under the 2018 new rulings is there are going to be some restrictions for students who fail a course or withdraw from multiple courses in the same semester. All right, this is our underperforming students rules. Anyone that falls below a 2.0 GPA or has above 2 withdrawals in the same semester are going to fall on CCP probation. The student will stay on probation until they start boosting that GPA up. If they fail to boost the GPA up, they can be dismissed from participation. All right, so this is a big change with the CCP rules this year. It's also a positive change because you don't want a student struggling consistently in their college classes, but it is a little bit different from what we've seen in the past years. The other thing that you have to consider with the CCP program is this is going on your permanent college record. So this is the start of your college career if you decide to start up with CCP. It's going to impact your high school GPA. It can also affect future scholarships, transferring classes. You want these credits to do something for you. If you get a C or a D on a class, chances are it's not going to transfer the way that you want it to. All right, so just some things to consider. Also, the CCP classes do impact athletic eligibility. So if you would fail a CCP course, that's going to have some negative impacts in that arena too. Great, so now that I've filled your head with all kinds of information, just some final things to consider. If you test college ready, that's a wonderful thing. That doesn't always mean you are college ready. And we say that to be brutally honest with students because the CCP program is designed to help students succeed long term. All right, so the goal of this program is to help your students get ahead in the long run. All right, it's to help them get ahead towards a degree or boost up their, reduce their college costs. If you're taking classes too early and you're not ready, the negative consequences can be real. All right, so we want people to make informed decisions as far as whether or not this is the right path for them, and just to think about some of those. The additional things to consider is if you are taking classes on campus, Our campus is open to students of all ages, all demographic backgrounds. We don't have classes that are CCP only on campus. Those courses are open to anyone enrolled at Edison State. So you may not have, the same familiar group of students that you've been traveling through high school with up until this point. All of our students are great at Edison State, but it's just some things that you want to think about. Part of what makes higher education great is that you get to be exposed to diverse interests and backgrounds. But sometimes if you are an 8th grader, maybe you're not mature enough to handle that. Not all, just saying, sometimes. So every student is a little bit different, and you're going to want to consider those differences when you decide to make these, to go on and make this adventure with your student. All right. The extracurricular activities and athletic eligibility portion, students that do participate in CCP, whether they be on site here at the high school or off site on our campus, they are still free to participate in all the programs here at Greenville High School. We also have student life activities on campus that they're eligible to participate in as well, such as Student Senate. So it doesn't change their ability to participate here at the high school. They're still a Greenville High School student. The last thing that we want to talk about is the FERPA policies. As a student that's transitioning to post-secondary education, when a student enrolls in a college, the academic rights, the privacy rights to their academic information transfers to the student, and that's regardless of if the student is 18 or not. On our online application, there is a FERPA waiver at the end of the application. If you as a parent wish to stay involved and have access to your student's information, that waiver has to be on file with us, listing who we can release information to. So that's going to be very important as you fill out that online application because of the privacy laws related to that academic information. Towards the end. All right, so if anyone has questions, I would love it if you present them to the group, because it never fails. After the meetings, I've missed something, and then I have like 20 people asking me the same question afterwards. So does anyone have any questions now? I know it's a lot all at once.
Hit just a few of the basic things. I'm going to have Mrs. Hosapple talk about the intent form real quick. So we're not completely finished, but as you are thinking about departing, make sure that we have dismissed you prior to you starting to get up and leaving so that you do not miss any important information. But one of the things that Ms. Carlisle had mentioned was that letter of intent form that is due to us by April 1st. That letter of intent is on a yellow piece of paper. This is extremely important. We, in the history of CC Plus, have never allowed a student to participate if this was not on file by April 1st. In order to participate without this on file, you have to get it approved through Mr. Freeze, and he has not allowed that because if you are not responsible enough to get this in by April 1st, that is a key sign that you are not quite ready for CC Plus classes. So we do have these here tonight, and you are able to sign them. If you are thinking about doing CC Plus, you are welcome to fill it out, sign it, and make sure it's turned in tonight. That would be fantastic. Signing this form does not mean you have to take CC Plus. This form just says, hey, counselor, I might be taking CC Plus, put me on your radar. Okay? We are going to have 3 different tables set up to collect these at the end of the evening. Mrs. Fine is going to be in the back for any 6th through 8th grader who is here tonight. Your current 6th through 8th grader is going to sign up with Mrs. Fine. She's in at the table where we came in to sign in. Mrs. Curtis is going to be at the table where she was standing over. There's another table over there. She will be seeing the students that are grades 9 through 11 currently. And their last names start with A through K, and then I will be taking the students up front in grades 9 through 11 with the last names L through Z. That's just to sort of organize you so that we're not all making a mob somewhere. At that same time, If you did not sign in when you entered, please make sure you sign in. We have a sign-in sheet at all 3 tables, so you can do that at the same time. And I believe that Mrs. Carlisle was going to touch on how to sign up for the high school AccuPlacer, which we also have at all 3 stations.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, the events here at the high school, the only way to sign up for those is through these sign-up sheets. So if you are interested in taking the AccuPlacer assessment or participating in the orientation here, the orientation will be during homeroom in May. The AccuPlacer will be after school. You will just sign up your name, your current grade, and then circle yes for whichever event you're interested in. Yes, the first attempt is free, okay? If you're a repeat tester, and sometimes we have repeat testers, it's just a $10 charge, all right? And they're gonna have the sign-up sheet at each of the stations as well, so that should be good. Yes. So the charge is a new thing this year, but yes, if you're coming back to boost up your course eligibility, you'll be charged the $10 fee. The other important thing to keep in mind is we do have to have the application on file before we can participate in the assessment or the orientation, and that's because we have to have a student ID number generated.
Some other things we need to mention real quick before everybody starts signing things. If you are at the middle school, our AccuPlacer test is scheduled at 3 o'clock that afternoon. So you should be able to be out of the middle school and over here to the high school in our computer lab. We are going to have to look and see how many students are wanting to take that assessment on that day. As far as the orientation, we are doing the high school students in the morning here at the high school. We will have to let the middle school students, we'll get back to you through Mrs. Fine as to what we'll be doing with your orientation. You will not be leaving the middle school that morning to come over here to the high school and blend with the older students.
Right.
The other thing I want to mention is CC Plus looks very different at the high school than what it does at the middle school. At the high school, we do have several on-site classes that a lot of our students participate in. If you're going to be an incoming freshman, those are available to you as long as you qualify. At the middle school, your options are going to be online classes or going to the Edison campus. If you want to try to come to one of the classes here, we have never had that before. That would be something that we have to discuss if you qualify. However, you are in charge of your own transportation. So that would mean daily transportation from the middle school to Edison, the Darke County campus, or here to the high school. So primarily all of our students at the middle school have done online courses. Percentage-wise, CC Plus, I would say that 80% of our CC Plus students are usually juniors and seniors. Then we have a blend of maybe 20 or 30 more sophomores. We have a trickle of freshmen. And then we've had maybe 6 or 7 middle school students in the time that CC Plus has started to take off. And some of those students have been very, very successful. We know it's a lot of information, and the key to you being successful with all of this is communicating with your guidance counselor, because everybody's plan is going to be different. The only thing I want you to think about is this. Some of our students start very young because they want to try to have an associate's by the time they graduate. Sometimes that can be a really great thing depending on where they're going or what they want to do. Sometimes they get really burnt out, or they're not ready for it maturity-wise, and their grade point average is much lower than what it would be if they were waited possibly till they were 16, 17 years old in some cases. The other thing we're starting to see is with our seniors, when you go on to a 4-year university and you transfer, you can transfer your credits at a public university or private if they accept them. But your GPA, your cumulative GPA, does not transfer with you. So some of our students are going to Ohio State or Wright State or Ball State. They're transferring in as a junior, but they are starting off in their 3rd year level classes having to get excellent grades because that's the first time they're establishing their GPA at that college. Now, when I went to Wright State, I took the Intro to Psych, the Intro to Soc. Those were easier classes for me to excel in, and it really built my GPA at a good level when I started. A lot of our students will take those here at the high school, but that's really something to consider. And as guidance counselors, we will form a relationship with you, and you will work with us every time you schedule for classes. What we say to one of you might not be what we say to the other, and it's because we're looking at your strengths, your weaknesses. If you want an adult vocational program, if you want an associate's degree, if you want a highly selective college, if you want an open admissions college. So that's just kind of what I wanted to state, and middle school is very different from high school, so there'll probably be more information from Mrs. Fine coming out to students that are turning in those intent forms. Okay, if you don't want to stand in the line and you're here, a high school student, all of this will be available in the guidance office tomorrow to sign up as well, and also with Mrs. Fine. At this time, we can try to exit to the tables that you need to go to.